Step into a compilation of true crime unlike any other. Disturbing cases, unsolved mysteries, and real horrors that echo through time. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. The summer heat wave gripped Jasper, Alabama, like a vice, the air shimmering off the cracked pavement of Highway 78 as the sun climbed high on January 12, 2023. 2020, turning the small town into a furnace where even the cicadas seemed too tired to sing. Anthony Tony Mitchell, 33 years old, with a lanky frame and a face etched by years of hard living, stumbled out of his rundown trailer on the edge of town, his faded jeans hanging loose on his hips, his bare feet slapping the hot dirt as he paced the yard, muttering to himself under his breath. Tony had always been the quiet type, the kind of guy who kept to himself after his daddy passed in 2022, leaving him alone in the single wide with peeling paint and a fridge that hummed more than it cooled. His dark hair was matted with sweat, his eyes wild and unfocused, the meth haze from the night before clouding his thoughts, making the world tilt like a bad dream. He'd been spiraling for months, the drug pulling him deeper since the funeral, his mama Steve Mitchell paying his bills from her nursing job in Birmingham, dropping off groceries and pleading with him to get clean. But Tony couldn't hear her anymore. The voices in his head louder, telling him the neighbors were watching, the government listening through the walls, his paranoia a beast that clawed at his sanity. By noon, the heat pushed Tony to the shade of his porch, his bare chest slick with sweat as he rocked in an old lawn chair, his hands trembling around a warm beer, his mutters turning to shouts at shadows that weren't there. Steve, 60 miles away in her double shift grind at the hospital, got a call from a neighbor around 1 p.m. The woman's voice worried. Tony's acting strange, hollering at nothing. Wandering the road, thought you should know. Steve's heart sank, her scrubs stained from a long morning, her mind flashing to Tony's last relapse, the way he locked himself in the trailer for days, emerging gaunt and shaking. She dialed him, the line ringing to voicemail, her texts unread, her worry blooming into action. "Send someone," she told the dispatcher at Walker County Sheriff's Office, her voice steady but edged with fear. "My son's in crisis. Needs a welfare check. He's not right." The call logged at 1:15 p.m. Deputies dispatched from the Jasper substation, their cruiser rolling slow down the dusty road, the radio crackling with routine chatter as they pulled up to Tony's trailer. The yard littered with empty cans and a rusted bike from his boyhood. Deputy Brandon R. Broadway, 28, with a buzz cut and a fresh academy shine, stepped out first, his hand resting easy on his holster. His partner deputy, Justin D.A. Jackson, 32 and more, seasoned with a mustache that hid his nerves, flanking him as they approached the port. Tony spotted them through the screen door, his eyes narrowing, the paranoia flaring like a match. "You ain't taking me, government dogs." His voice slurred, his body tensing as he grabbed a .22 rifle from beside the chair, the barrel shaking in his grip, his finger hovering on the trigger. The deputies froze, hands up, Broadway's voice calm. "Easy, Tony. We're here to help. Your mama's worried. Let's talk." But Tony's mind was a storm, the meth twisting their faces into threats. His shout, "Get off my land," echoing as he raised the rifle, the crack of the shot splitting the air, the bullet whizzing past Jackson's ear, embedding in the trailer wall with a thunk. The deputies dove behind the cruiser, radios barking shots fired. "Officer needs assistance." their hearts pounding as Tony fired again. The 22's report sharp in the heat, glass shattering from the porch light. Backup rolled in fast, two more cruisers screeching up, deputies piling out with shotguns. The standoff stretching minutes that felt like hours. Tony barricaded inside, his shouts muffled through the wall. The rifles clicked, empty, after 3 rounds. SWAT from Jasper PD arrived by 2:30 p.m. Their armored truck rumbling down the road, negotiators on megaphones pleading, "Tony, put the gun down. No one's hurting you." But Tony's paranoia peaked. His voice cracking over the line when they patched through. "You're here to lock me up, experiment on me. Stay back." Tear gas canisters hissed through the windows at 3 p.m., the trailer filling with stinging clouds. Tony coughing as he stumbled out the back door, his hands up but eyes wild. The deputies tackling him to the dirt, cuffs snapping on his wrists, his body thrashing as they zip-tied his ankles. "He's tweaking bad," Broadway muttered, hauling Tony to the cruiser, his skin hot and slick, his mutters incoherent about the voices and the feds. The trailer search yielded meth pipes, baggies of crystal, the 22 empty on the floor. Tony charged with 2 counts of attempted murder on a peace officer, his bond set at $100,000. Steve posting it by evening, her tears falling as she hugged him in the lobby. "We get you help. We get you help. Baby, no more." Tony spent the night in Walker County Jail, a squat concrete fortress on Highway 78 in Jasper, the intake buzzing with the usual Friday night chaos. Drunks in holding, fights in the drunk tank, chaos, drunks in holding, fights in the drunk tank. The air thick with sweat and bleach. At 11 p.m., deputies processed him, his mugshot showing eyes, bloodshot and distant, his fingerprints smudged from sweaty palms, his clothes, a stained t-shirt and jeans, bagged as evidence. The jail, built in 1990 for 200 inmates, but housing 350, was a pressure cooker of neglect. The drunk tank, a 12 by 12 concrete box, with no mattress, no blanket, just a stainless toilet and a drain in the floor. The AC cranked to 55 degrees for detox, the cold a shock to the system for those in withdrawal. Tony stripped for the search, his body lean and scarred from years of use, his false teeth removed for safety, his naked form shivering as deputies shoved him into the tank, the door clanging shut, the light buzzing overhead like a fluorescent fly. "Sleep it off," Jackson said through the slot, his voice gruff, the cell's chill biting Tony's skin as he curled on the concrete, his meth crash hitting hard, his body temperature dropping, his mind a whirl of hallucinations. The night stretched endless, Tony's shivers turning to convulsions by 2 a.m., his teeth chattering on the bare floor, his skin mottling blue as hypothermia crept in. The tank's AC blasting Arctic air through vents designed for cooling riots, not comfort. Guards on the night shift, understaffed and overworked, peeked through the slot sporadically, their logs noting inmate quiet, no issues, the cold a routine punishment for the highs in holding. Tony's pleas came in whispers by 4 a.m., his voice weak, cold. "Please, blanket." But the guard, a rookie named Tyler Brown, 25, with a mustache and a chip on his shoulder from a recent demotion, smirked. "Tough it out, junkie. Earn your warrant." Brown and his partner, Joshua Connor Jones, 30, A veteran with a lazy eye and a history of write-ups for excessive force wandered the block, their radios crackling with jokes about freezing the tweakers, the tank's temp dipping to 50 degrees. Tony's core plummeting to 90 by dawn, his breath shallow, his body seizing and fit. By 6 a.m., Tony's condition worsened, his skin icy, his pulse thready, the guards finally noticing when he didn't respond to the morning count, his body curled fetal on the floor, feces smeared from incontinence, his naked form a pale statue in the cold. "He's out," Jones muttered, calling the nurse, a contract worker named Sarah Johnson, 29, who arrived with a thermometer, her probe reading 85 degrees rectal, her face paling. "He's hypothermic. Get him to air now." Deputies bundled him in a restraint chair, his body limp, his false teeth still withheld as contraband, his transport delayed by shift change. The cruiser rolling slow to Walker Baptist Hospital, 15 minutes away. At 7:15 a.m., air doctors pronounced him dead on arrival. His core temp 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 Celsius. A miracle he lasted that long. The hypothermia from prolonged exposure, sepsis from infected sores on his feet. The cause, a lethal cocktail of neglect and cruelty. The doctor. Elena Vasquez, noted in the chart. Inmate from jail, profound hypothermia, no vital signs. Cause unclear but environmental exposure likely. The news hit Jasper like a thunderclap. The small town of 14,000 whispering as Steve Mitchell got the call at her shift, her scrubs crumpling as she collapsed, her wail echoing down the hall. "My boy, they killed my boy." Tony's body, zipped in a bag, rolled to the morgue. "Roll to the morgue! Roll to the morgue!" The autopsy confirming the horror. Hypothermia as primary. His body temp dropped from the tank's freeze. Untreated withdrawal accelerating the crash. Bruises from tasting the day before adding to the abuse. His false teeth withheld leading to dehydration from refusal to eat soft foods, punished with more isolation. Steve, 62, with silver hair and eyes hollowed by loss, stormed the sheriff's office that afternoon, her voice rising. "You froze my son. Give me answers." Sheriff Nick Willis, 55, with a paunch and a politician's smile. Met her in the lobby, his voice smooth. "Tragic accident, ma'am." He was alert when transported. Medical staff checked him. But video from the jail's hallway cam told a different tale. The grainy footage showing Tony dragged naked to the tank at 11:45 p.m., shivering and mumbling, guards laughing as they slammed the door, peaks every hour noting inmate quiet, no checks for vitals, the AC vent blasting full cold. Steve's lawsuit, filed February 2023 in U.S. District Court for Northern Alabama, her attorney Carlos Boykin, a civil rights bulldog from Birmingham, alleging deliberate indifference under the Eighth Amendment, the tank a freezer for punishment. Tony's mental health ignored despite his history. Meth psychosis known from prior arrests. His welfare check, a cry for help, turned deadly. The complaint detailed the horror. Tony tased without cause on intake for resisting. His teeth yanked, left naked on concrete. The cell 50 degrees, guards spectating his seizures at 4 a.m. Jones' joking look at the junkie dance, Brown filming on his phone for the boys, 4.5 hours after the last check. Tony loaded into the cruiser at 6:45 a.m., his body blue and unresponsive. Deputies claiming alert and coherent in reports. The video showing him limp, dragged by arms. No pulse en route. The ER fight. Defibrillator shocks. Warmed IVs. Heated blankets. Failed. His temp 72 degrees. The lowest survivable on record. His death a homicide of neglect. Sepsis from untreated sores sealing it. Jasper buzz. The Walker County Jail a lightning rod. Locals whispering of the freezer as routine for problem inmates. Tony's crime. Shooting at deputies during his check. No hits. A spark for the abuse. His mugshot posted on the sheriff's Facebook with attempted murder on Leo's drew 500 likes. Comments cheering good riddance. The spray paint huffing marks on his face from his high ignored as tweaker art. Steve's suit named Willis. Steve's suit named Willis. Brown, Jones, Johnson, and 5 others, alleging a pattern. 2022 assaults on inmates. A black man punched till bloody. A woman tasted labor. The jail a cauldron of cruel. Discovery yielded horrors. Internal memos on drunk tank protocol cranking AC to punish. Nurses signing off on stable without temps. Video of Tony's cell peaks showing him convulsing alone. Guards eating popcorn outside. Depositions cracked them. Brown admitting we froze him to sober him. Jones shrugging he was high. Figured he'd warm up. The case dragged to 2024. Federal indictments drop in August 4th. Brown and Jones pleading guilty to deprivation of rights under color of law. Sentences pending. Johnson copping to falsifying records. Her nurse license revoked. 5 more guards charged. The FBI probe uncovering 200 complaints of abuse. The freezer, a tradition for non-compliant inmates. Tony's the deadliest. Steve's civil win. February 2025. 10 million settlement from the county. Her voice impressors. Tony needed help. Not a grave. They chose punishment over care. Jasper changed slow. The jail's AC fixed. Mental health screenings mandated. But the stain lingered. Tony's trailer raised. A plaque in the yard. In memory of Anthony Mitchell, advocate for the vulnerable. Steve, with her settlement, funded rehab beds in Jasper, her son's photo on the wall. His gentle smile, a reminder of the boy lost to a system's cold heart. As this story fades, another one waits in the shadows. In Ruin, the rain pattered softly against the tin roof of the small house in Campo Grande, Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil. The kind of steady drizzle that turned the dirt streets into slick mud and made the air smell of wet earth and distant wood smoke. It was January 26, 2023. A Thursday morning, heavy with the promise of heat, and little Sophia Jesus Ocampo, just 2 years and 7 months old, stirred in her crib, her tiny hands clutching a worn stuffed bear, her tiny hands clutching her dark curls matted with sweat from the humid night. Sophia was a quiet child, her big brown eyes always watching the world with a mix of curiosity and caution. Her laughter rare but bright when it came, a giggle that lit up the cramped living room where her mother, Stephanie de Jesus da Silva, 24, moved about in a faded t-shirt and shorts, her long hair tied back in a messy ponytail. Stephanie, a young mother with a quick smile that hid deeper worries, worked odd jobs as a cleaner, her days a blur of scrubbing floors and rushing home to her daughter. The house a simple 2-room place in the Coronel Antonino neighborhood, its walls thin and peeling, the floor scattered with toys and empty soda cans. The front room doubled as kitchen and living space, a small stove piled with pots, a sagging couch where Stephanie's boyfriend, Christian Camposano Lightheim, 26, sprawled in his underwear, his tattooed arm draped over his eyes, snoring softly after a late shift at the warehouse. Sophia whimpered from the crib, her small body aching from the night before, the bruises on her arms and legs, a dull throb that she couldn't name but felt in every twist. Stephanie scooped her up, her voice cooing but edged with impatience. "Shh, baby, Mama's here." Sophia's stomach was swollen, her skin hot and clammy, the pain from the beating the day before radiating through her little frame, her cries weak as Stephanie bounced her on her hip, the child's head lolling against her shoulder. Christian stirred on the couch, his voice gruff. "What's with her? I make her quiet." Stephanie shushed him, her hand rubbing Sophia's back, but the girl's whimpers grew to gasps, her breath shallow, her face paling as internal bleeding from the trauma built pressure in her chest. The day before, January 25th, had been a storm of anger. Stephanie coming home tired from a double shift, finding Sophia fussing over a spilled milk bottle, Christian's temper flaring as he grabbed the girl by the arm, his hand swinging in a slap that connected with her head, the impact sending her tumbling to the floor, her cry sharp and piercing. Stephanie had watched, frozen, her own frustration boiling as she joined in, her palm stinging from the smack to Sophia's leg, the child's screams filling the house until Christian clamped a hand over her mouth, his weight pressing down over her mouth, the silence coming with a final choke that left Sophia limp and bruised. That morning, as the rain drummed harder, Sophia's condition worsened, her swollen belly a sign of the internal damage, the trauma to her cervical spine from the fall or the shake compressing nerve, blood pooling between her lung and chest wall, her tiny heart straining against the pressure. Stephanie noticed the change around 9 a.m., Sophia's cries turning to gurgles, her body convulsing in short spasms, her eyes rolling back as foam bubbled at her lip. Panic hit Stephanie like a wave, her hands shaking as she shook the girl. "Sophia, wake up, baby, please." Christian bolted up, his eyes wide, his voice a hiss. "What did you do?" "She's not breathing." They tried CPR, Stephanie's palms pressing on the child's chest, Christian blowing air into her mouth, the efforts frantic but futile. Sophia's body jerking once more before going still, her chest rising no more before going still, her eyes open and glassy, the life gone by 10 a.m. The room fell silent, save for the rain. Stephanie's sobs breaking the quiet, Christian pacing, his face paled. "We have to say she fell. The playground. Yeah, she fell at the park. They sat with the body for hours." Sophia's small form on the couch, covered with a blanket, the time ticking past noon, the couple whispering plans, their phones buzzing with ignored calls from work, the house a tomb of denial. By 5 p.m., the rain easing to a mist, Stephanie bundled Sophia in her arms, the child's body stiff with rigor, her head lolling against her mother's shoulder, the blanket hiding the bruises. Christian drove them to the UPA Coronel Antonino, a busy emergency unit in the North End, the waiting room crowded with coughs and cries, the fluorescent lights harsh on Stephanie's tear-streaked face as she approached the desk. "My baby, she's not breathing. Help her." The nurse took one look, her hand on Sophia's chest finding no rise. The doctor called in, his stethoscope cold on the skin, the pronouncement quick. Dead on arrival, the body cold, the body cold, the body cold. Rigger sat. The lady sat, Stephanie wailed, collapsing into a chair. Christian hovering, his eyes downcast as the medical examiner, Dr. Fabricio Sampaio More de Paiva, began the initial exam in a side room, the lights glaring on the small form laid on the table. The doctor noted the swollen abdomen, the bruises looming purple on arms and legs, the neck swollen oddly, the skin pale from blood loss. How long? He asked, Stephanie sobbing. She got sick this morning, ate too much mayonnaise. Her belly swelled. Christian nodded, silent, his hands clenched as the doctor probed. The trauma evident. Cervical spine fracture from blunt force. Blood accumulated in the chest cavity, causing hemothorax. The death between 9 and 10 a.m., 7 hours before arrival. The UPA staff, trained to spot abuse, saw the signs. Old bruises layered under new. The tibia fracture from weeks ago, documented in records. The 30 medical visits in months screening neglect. But the shift was busy. The doctor noting the story without immediate alarm. The body bagged for the morgue. Stephanie and Christian sent home with condolences. Their lives holding for the night. The necropsy, the next day, January 27th, peeled back the truth in the stark light of the Instituto de Medicina y Medicina Legal, Dr. Paiva's scalpel tracing the horror. The cervical trauma from a violent shake or fall, the spine compressed, blood pooling in the thorax, suffocating the lungs, the death agonizing. Sophia conscious for hours, her small body racked with pain before stillness. Deeper cuts revealed rape marks, genital trauma from penetration, tears consistent with force, the abuse days or weeks old. No stis, but scarring from repeated violation. The report landed like a bomb. The police called in. Delegata Anne Karine Trevisan taking the case. Her team raiding the house on January 28th. The door kicked in to find the couple asleep. The rooms reeking of neglect. Trash piled high. Animal feces on the balcony. Cigarette butts and empty liquor bottles scattered like confetti from hell. The couch stained with old spills. Sophia's toys broken amid the chaos. Trevisan's interrogation room was a fluorescent box of truth, Stephanie breaking first, her voice trembling. She was sick, her stomach from mayonnaise. We tried CPR, but she was gone. Christian silent, his eyes down. But phone records cracked them. Texts from 11 a.m., coordinating lies. Say, she fell at the playground. I'll back it. Stephanie confessed, knowing Sophia was dead by noon. The 7 hours, a delay of denial. Christian's suggestion, invent anything, a threat of guilt. The arrests came swift, preventive detention for qualified homicide, and rape of a vulnerable. Stephanie's omission of aid adding chains. The couple led away in cuffs, their faces blank under the flashing lights. Jean Carlos Ocampo, Sophia's father, 28, a construction worker with gentle eyes and a broken heart, got the call at his site, his hammer dropping as he raced to the station, his partner Igor de Andrade beside him. Their hands clasped in the truck, the rain starting again as they arrived. Jean's world had been a fight for Sophia since her birth in June 2020. A surprise pregnancy with Stephanie during a casual fling, his joy at fatherhood clashing with her distance. The custody battle of war from day one. He and Igor, married in a quiet ceremony, fought for visitation. Their home a loving nest in Campo Grande's outskirts, but Stephanie's homophobia blocked it. Her voice sharp on call. I won't leave my daughter with two men. Jean reported bruises. Sophia's arm purple from a fall. Her leg fractured in October 2022. Stephanie's story, she slipped in the bath, but the tutelary council dismissed it. Their fundamentalist views veiling bias, Igor's presence barred from meetings. Only the father, Janice Andrat, Jean's lawyer, hammered the doors. Depka taking 10 months for a hearing, the public defender demanding endless doc. The UPA team silent on violence, one doctor noting Sophia's tibia break, but accepting accidental fall. No social worker called. Jean showed photos, Sophia's scratches, her swollen eye, but police logged it without action. The grandmother's 1.5-hour audio of abuses dismissed as manipulated, the state's omission a chain around his neck. The house raid revealed the hell Sophia endured. Dirty diapers piled in corners, feces on floors, cigarette burns on toys, the balcony a dump of bottles and butts, the air stale with neglect. Christian's violence was legend in whispers, his job hopping, his temper flaring at Stephanie's work, his hands on Sophia, a discipline that left marks. The rape 3 days before death per forensics. The penetration brutal per forensics. The penetration brutal. No DNA but tears and scarring from force. The abuse months old. Her body a canvas of pain. Stephanie's connivance, watching the beatings, joining slabs, delaying help. Her tears for cameras, a mask. The couple's texts, a plot of lies. Delcine da Silva de Jesus, Sophia's grandmother, visited post-arrest, her voice weary. Nothing surprises me now. Drugs, anything's possible. She checked the other kids. Christian's 6-month-old and Stephanie's son, no mark. But worry lingered. Her turns with the baby, a temporary shield. The Corregidoria National de Justicia watched. The health department probing UPA failures. The 30 visits a red flag ignored. Vaccines the only record set. Janice raged. The state had chances. 3 council visits, 2 DEPCA reports, 2 defensoria pleas, Cesau silent on violence. Homophobia veiled, 2 men raising a child. Impossible in fundamentalist halls. Jean's fight, photos shown, audio played, ignored. The police knowing Stephanie hid Sophia when bruised. No coercive exam, protective measures denied. The jury in December 2024 was a spectacle. The tribunal de jure packed, Jean and Igor in the gallery, their hands clasped as Stephanie and Christian entered, her orange jumpsuit loose, his chains rattling. The prosecution, led by promoter, detailed the necropsy. Trauma racromedular, hemothorax from blows, rape marks 3 days prior, the delay 7 hours of omission. Witnesses, grandmother's audio played, her voice breaking on abuses. Doctors admitting silence on fractures. Mother sacred, aggression, education. Stephanie confessed partial. She ate too much mayonnaise, swelled. She ate too much mayonnaise. We tried CPR. Christian silent, his eyes down. The jury deliberated 2 days. The sentence December 5. Christian 32 years for qualified homicide and rape. Stephanie 20 for omission homicide. Her connivance a chain. Jean wept. Igor hugging him. The courtroom erupting in sobs. The family vowing reform. Campo Grande mourned. Vigils lighting the UPA. Sophia's photos smiling amid candles. The hashtag Justicia por Sofia trending. The state probed for negligence. homophobia's veil torn. Jean and Igor rebuilt custody of the baby one. Their home a haven Sophia never knew. Her memory and scholarships for abused kids. The rain washing mud from streets, but not the blood from hands. As this story fades, another one waits in the shadows. The November fog draped Krakow like a heavy curtain, softening the edges of the Vistula River's banks and muffling the footsteps of students hurrying through the old town's cobblestone street. It was November 12, 1998, a Thursday afternoon gray with the weight of winter's approach, and Katarzyna Zawada, a 23-year-old religious studies student at Jagiellonian University, stepped out of her modest apartment in the Noah Huda district, her scarf pulled tight against the chill. Her auburn hair peeked from under a knitted beanie, her green eyes shadowed with the quiet sadness of depression she'd been battling for years. Her small frame bundled in a navy coat and jeans, a worn backpack slung over one shoulder. Katarzyna, Kasia to her friends, was the shy heart of her small circle. Her love for Grateful Dead vinyls and dog-eared sci-fi novels like Dune filling her cramped room with warmth. Her soft voice reading Tolkien passages aloud to friends over coffee. She was due at the psychiatric clinic on Copernicus Street at 2 p.m. Her mother Anna already waiting in the sterile waiting room, her hands twisting a rosary as she glanced at the clock. Kasia's therapy sessions were a lifeline. Her depression a fog that lifted only in moments of music or stories. But today she didn't show, the clock ticking past 2:30. Anna's worry blooming into dread as she dialed Kasia's phone. The line ringing to silence. Kasia's life was one of quiet dreams in a loud world, her childhood, in a small village near Krakow, filled with Sunday masses and family dinners, her 7 siblings crowding the table with laughter and arguments over pierogi. She'd moved to the city for university, first studying psychology, before switching to religious studies, her notebooks filled with musings on faith and folklore, her grade steady despite the mental storms that pulled her inward. Her apartment, shared with 2 other girls, was a haven of thrift store furniture and posters of Jerry Garcia, her rent paid by waitressing shifts at a cafe near Wawel Castle, her tips saved for books and concert tickets. But the past 2 weeks had been strange. Kasia skipped classes, her professors noting her absence, her friends noticing her phone going unanswered for days, only to reappear with vague excuses of needing space. Once, she'd vanished for a weekend, returning pale and quiet, brushing off questions with a smile that didn't reach her eye. Her mother, Anna, pressed for answers, but Kasia hugged her tight, promising to talk soon. Her therapy appointment a step toward healing she swore she'd keep. That afternoon, as Anna paced the clinic, Kasia walked a 10-minute route from Noah Huta to Copernica, her boots splashing through puddles, her mind a tangle of thoughts. Her breakup with a casual boyfriend months earlier. Her medication's side effects, the weight of exams looming. She didn't notice the figure trailing her. A man blending into the fog, his steps measured, his presence unremarkable in a navy jacket and cap pulled low. Robert Janchevsky, 32nd, a loner with a lean build and a history of martial arts training, lived in a rundown flat near the Vistula. His days spent repairing electronics, his nights lost in dark fantasies that festered in isolation. He'd seen Kasia at the university library, her shy smile catching his eye during her psychology days, his attempts at small talk rebuffed with her polite but firm distance. Robert's obsession grew in the shadows, his diary entries, later found, detailing her walks, her cafe shifts, the way her hair caught the light. He'd followed her before, unnoticed, his martial arts precision making him a ghost in her world, his sadistic urges a fire stoked by rejection and control. Kasia reached the clinic street, the fog thicker now, the Vistula's murmur faint in the distance, when Robert stepped closer, his voice low and familiar, offering a greeting she barely registered. "Need a hand with that bag?" he asked, his tone disarming. But Kasia shook her head, quickening her pace, her instincts prickling as the street emptied. Robert's hand shot out, grabbing her elbow, his grip iron from years of judo, her gasp swallowed by the fog as he pulled her into an alley off Copernica, the brick walls closing like a trap. Kasia struggled, her backpack dropping, her scream muffled by his gloved hand clamping her mouth, her body thrashing as he dragged her deeper, the alley a dead end by a shuttered warehouse, its windows dark as graves. She kicked, her heel connecting with his shin, pain flashing in his eyes, but his training took over, his arm locking her neck in a chokehold, her vision blurring as she clawed his sleeve, tearing fabric, her nails drawing blood. Robert's face twisted, not with anger, but excitement, his breath quickening as he pinned her to the cold ground, her coat ripping, her please, let me go, fading into whimpers. The assault was methodical, Robert's hands moving with a sick precision, his martial arts skill turning her resistance futile. He struck her face, the blows calculated to stun, her cheekbone cracking under his fist, blood trickling from her nose as she gasped, her hands flailing, scratching his wrist, a single dark hair caught under her nail. He tore her coat open, his knife, a folding blade from his repair shop, gleaming in the dim light, slicing her shirt from shoulder to breast, the fabric parting with a soft rip. Kasia's screams turned to sobs, her body trembling as he bound her wrists with fishing line from his pocket, the thin cord cutting into her skin, her legs kicking uselessly against the pavement. Robert's sadism took over, his knife tracing her skin, not to kill yet, but to terrify, the blade's edge drawing shallow lines across her arm, her cries fueling his arousal as he leaned close, his breath hot on her face. "You're mine now," he whispered, the words chilling her more than the cold, her mind racing for escape, her faith whispering prayers her lips couldn't form. The torture stretched, Robert's control absolute, his knife peeling skin from her shoulder down her torso, the cuts shallow but deliberate, blood welling in thin streams as Kasia screamed, her voice raw, the fog swallowing the sound. She was alive for it, her heart pounding, her body a map of pain as he flayed with surgical care, keeping her conscious, her eyes locked on his in horror, her blood loss weakening her struggles, her breath's shallow gasp. The skin came away in a single sheet, ear to groin, the act a ritual of possession, Robert's face calm, almost reverent, as he folded the flesh like a trophy, her screams fading to moans, her body slumping from shock. Death came slow, blood pooling beneath her, her pulse fading as Robert finished, his knife slashing deeper once, a final wound below her breast, her eyes closing as life drained away. The alley silent, save for his heavy breathing and the distant laugh of the Vistula. Robert stood, his hands slick with blood, the folded skin tucked into a plastic bag from his jacket, his knife wiped on her torn coat, his mind a mix of thrill. He dragged her body to the river's edge, a secluded bank near the warehouse, the fog a shield as he worked fast, stripping her jeans and boots, weighting her remains with rocks from the shore, pushing her into the current, the water swallowing her with a soft splash, her right leg and a piece of her buttock catching on a dam upriver. He kept the skin, his trophy, slipping it into a sack, his boots crunching back to his flat, the bag hidden in a crawl space under his floorboards, the knife cleaned and returned to his toolbox. He washed his hands, the water running red, his reflection in the cracked mirror, a stranger's, calm, sated, untouchable. Kaja's backpack he tossed in a dumpster, her phone smashed and discarded, her absence a void no one would notice for hours. Anna Zawada's worry turned to desperation by evening, her calls to Kaja's roommates, Magda and Ola, unanswered, their shifts at the cafe keeping them late. At 8 p.m., Anna drove to the Noah Huda police station, her hands shaking as she begged to file a missing persons report, her voice breaking. My daughter didn't show. She's not answering. Something's wrong. The officer, a tired man named Piotr sighed, his pen tapping the desk. She's young, probably with friends. Wait 48 hours. Anna's pleas fell flat, the station's fluorescent lights harsh on her tear-streaked face. Her drive home to her village, a blur of dread. Her rosary clutched tight. Krakow slept, the Vistula flowing silent, Kasia's absence a ripple in its depths, her mother's prayers unanswered as the fog thickened, the city oblivious to the horror in its veins. Weeks passed, the case stalled, Anna plastering flyers with Kasia's photo, smiling, beanie on, Grateful Dead shirt. Across Nawahuda, her siblings joining searches, their voices hoarse, calling her name along the river. The breakthrough came January 6, 1999, when Miroslav M., captain of the lost tugboat, woke to a grinding noise, the boat lurching on the Vistula's Krakow stretch. He climbed to the propeller hatch, his flashlight sweeping the dark water, his stomach turning at a foul smell, a pale mass tangled in the blade. What the hell is this? He muttered, his crewman Janik pulling at the sack-like material, their faces paling as an ear emerged, the skin human, flayed from ear to groin, a slash from shoulder to breast, the only mar. Miroslav wretched, radioing police, his voice shaking. We found something human in the propeller. Krakow PD swarmed the riverbank by dawn. Divers in wetsuits pulling the skin from the water, the ear unmistakable. The smell of decay, heavy in the winter air. DNA tests at the medical examiner's lab confirmed it. Katarzyna Zawada, the missing student, her skin a grotesque relic of a killer's craft. A week later, January 14th, divertors scoured the Vistula, finding her right leg and a fragment of her buttock snagged on the Grunwaldzki Bridge's hydroelectric dam, the rocks tied to her body, failing to sink her fully. The current, a reluctant witness. The autopsy, led by Dr. Sofia Wojcik, painted horror, skinned alive, beaten first with fists, cheekbone fractured, ribs bruised, then tortured with shallow cuts, the flaying done with a sharp blade, her death from blood loss, conscious for parts, her final moments, agony. Defensive wounds on her hands, a hair under her nail, semen, traces on the skin, all preserved for DNA, but 1998 tech found no match in Poland's nascent database, the hair and semen typed but unlinked. Krakow reeled, the Gazeta Wyborcza splashing Vistula horror. Students skinned across front pages, parents locking doors. Jagiellonian students walking in groups, Kasia's face haunting bus stops on flyers, her mother's voice breaking on TV. She was kind, loved music. Who could do this? The investigation exploded. Krakow PD's homicide unit, led by Ines Spite, Marek Kowalski, canvassing Noah Huta, interviewing Kasia's friends, her ex-boyfriend Piotr, a psychology student with a solid alibi, working a night shift at a bar, confirmed by coworkers. Her truancy raised flags, Magda recalling Kasia's odd absence in October, returning withdrawn. Ola noting a man lingering near the cafe, his face forgettable, but his stare intense. Suspects piled up, a professor with a temper, a cafe regular with a rap sheet, but alibis held, DNA unmatched. Then, in May 1999, a second horror struck Krakow. An elderly blind man, Ivan, called police from his Bronois flat, his voice trembling. "My grandson killed my son. He's wearing his face." Officers found Vladimir W., a 25-year-old Russian student, pacing his kitchen, his father Witali's decapitated body on the floor, Vladimir's face smeared with blood, his father's scalp draped over his head like a mat. Vladimir, a Jagiellonian dropout from Kasia's psychology days, confessed to the murder, his motive a psychotic break, but denied knowing Kasia, his deportation to Russia swift, his sentence life in a Siberian prison. The coincidence chilling Krakow. Two Skinners in one city, a cosmic cruelty. The trail grew cold, Kowalski's team stumped, the DNA unmatched, the alley clean of prints, the warehouse a dead end. Anna Zawada aged in grief, her village home a shrine to Kasia, her sci-fi books untouched, her Grateful Dead records silent. By 2000, the case filed away, Kowalski's promise to Anna, "We'll find him," a hollow echo as leads dried. 8 years rolled, Krakow modernizing, the Vistula's banks lined with cafes, but Kasia's ghost lingered, her case a whisper in police stations. In 2012, the Cold Case Unit, Archive X, led by Lieutenant 12, Powell Novak, reopened the file, their lab retesting evidence with new tech, the skin yielding a rare plant spore, Phragmites australis, a reed from a specific Vistula bin near the warehouse. Novak's team, with FBI and Portuguese forensic aid, built a profile, male, 30s and 98, martial arts skilled, sadistic, local, likely known to Kasia. Robert Janchevsky, now 51st, emerged in 2017. His name a whisper in the original files, a library regular Kasia had rebuffed. His flat a mile from the alley, his martial arts medals on display. Archive X tailed him, his electronics shop a front for a loner's life, his diary seized, revealing sketches of Kasia, her roots mapped. Arrested October 4, 2017. His DNA matched the hair and semen, the reed spore on his boots, his knife's edge consistent with the cuts. Robert denied it, his voice calm in court. "I fixed her radio once, never hurt her." The 2022 trial in Krakow District Court was a spectacle. Prosecutor Anna Kaval laying out the horror, stalking, beating, flaying alive. "I dash in no one's out the sorry." The Vistula's disposal. "Die, mamma ye my." Defense claimed circumstantial. No body, no witnesses, but the DNA and diary damned him. Guilty of aggravated murder, life without parole, March 15, 2022. His family's cries of innocence drowned by Anna's sobs. Kasia's siblings clutching her photo, her mother's rosary still. Krakow exhaled, the vistula flowing quieter. Kasia's memory and scholarships for religious studies, her grave a marker by the river, her sci-fi books donated to the library, her spirit in the music that played on. Robert's appeals drag, his cell a mirror of his darkness, the alley now a parking lot. But Kasia's light endures, a warning in Krakow's fog. As this story fades, another one waits in the shadow. The late afternoon sun filtered through the dense canopy of the San Jacinto Mountains, casting dappled shadows on the dusty trail below as Kira Moon paused to catch her breath. Her stainless steel mesh shoes, her custom steel trail name etched into the soles, crunching against the gravel. It was late March 2018, just 10 days into her through hike on the Pacific Crest Trail, and the 62-year-old sculptor's assistant from San Francisco wiped sweat from her brow, her short gray hair matted under a wide-brimmed hat, her backpack sagging heavy with water and energy bars. I have known. Kira's journey had started at the Mexican border on March 18th, a bold leap for a woman who'd spent decades battling chronic pain from a work injury in 2007, her body a map of scars from heavy bronze lifting that left her partially paralyzed, her legs buzzing with nerve fire, her hands numb but determined. She couldn't sit or stand for long, her disability check barely covering a $600 basement apartment in the Mission District. But Kira was a fighter. Her nights now filled with red wine and dreams of reinvention. The PCT, 2,650 miles of desert, forest, and snow from Mexico to Canada, called to her like a siren song, a new life to outrun the pain against the pleas of her closest friend, Jason Storm, the 40-year-old social worker and punk rocker she called her unsung. Jason had set up a GoFundMe, scraping $785 for gear, his voice worried over the phone. Kira, you're not ready. This trail eats people. But she went. Her trail name, steel a nod to her unyielding spirit, her first steps of triumph over the wheelchair she'd relied on for years. The trail's early miles had been a grind, the desert heat sapping her strength, her feet blistered and raw. But Kira pushed on, her motorized scooter days behind her, her hikes up San Bruno Mountain prepping her for the 19-foot climbs. At Campo, mile 0, she felt alive. The border fence, a symbol of borders crossed, her phone snapping selfies for Jason. Day 1, steels rolling. The Anza Barrigo desert tested her. Scorpions skittering under rocks tested her. Scorpions skittering under rocks. Rattlesnakes coiling in the shade. Her water rationed to sips. Her nights under stars that felt infinite. By mile 77, Julian's rolling hills welcomed her to Carmen's Garden, a ramshackle Mexican restaurant turned hiker haven. Its owner a trail angel offering beds on the floor, meals for labor, and stories around a fire pit. Kira stumbled and weary, her pack thudding to the floor, her voice hoarse as she ordered a burrito. The other hikers, through hikers with trail names like Blaze and Echo, nodding in solidarity. That's where she met him, James William Perillo, a 53-year-old drifter with a lean 6'1" frame, balding head fringed with salt and pepper hair, a goatee framing a mouth that smiled too easily, and eyes like a shark's, steady, and eyes like a shark's, steady, unblinking, missing the warmth of human connection. Perillo sat at a corner table, nursing a beer, his faded jeans and hoodie blending with the crowd, his voice smooth as he struck up conversation with Kira over her through-hike dreams. Retired Navy SEAL, he said, his tone casual. Deep sea diver for Greenpeace. Sold a Santa Cruz home for $4.50 million last month. Money's in escrow while I heal from a windstorm bust-up at Net-Tardy Laguna. The story flowed easy. His broken ribs and punctured lung from March 2018, a badge of adventure. His offer to hike with her once mended a lifeline for her isolation. Kira, lonely on the trail, her phone signal spotty, her body aching but her spirit open, warm to him, his solicitous nature a balm, his giving ways making her laugh over shared plates. 3 days at Carmen's, washing dishes for meals, sleeping on the floor amid snores, and Kira felt seen, her pain shared in whispers by the fire pit, Perillo's hand on her shoulder, a comfort she didn't question. He was service-oriented, fetching water, sharing his tent space, his lives seamless. No military record, no Greenpeace dives, no Santa Cruz fortune. Just a poor drifter with aliases like James William or Billy, a trail of 7 women accusing him of kidnapping and rape, 2 bearing his children after year-long captivities. Charges never sticking in a system that overlooked his charm. By April, healed or faking it, Perillo joined Kira on the trail, their packs side by side as they climbed Scissors Crossing, mile 109, the desert blooming with wildflowers, the heat a relentless foe. Kira snapped a photo of him, his goatee trimmed, his eyes squinting into the sun, planning to post it on Facebook for Jason. Met a trail buddy. Perillo smiled, but asked her to wait. Few days. Let me surprise my family. Her trust building with each mile, their conversations deep. Her sculpture days in San Francisco, lifting bronze that broke her back, her opiate haze and cold turkey triumph. Her unsung Jason's punk band, Space Toilet, blasting in her earbuds. Perillo nodded, his stories of SEAL missions and ocean depths captivating, his hand brushing hers on steep inclines, the trail of bubble where isolation bred intimacy. They reached Warner Springs, mile 100, the oasis a respite of hot springs and hiker trash tales, but cracks showed, Perillo's temper flaring at a shared meal, his eyes narrowing when Kira mentioned solo hiking ahead. We're a team now, he said, his voice low, the words a velvet trap. The shift came near Big Bear, mile 266, the San Bernardino forest's pines whispering warnings as Kira suggested branching off. Need to go my pace, James? You're fast. His face darkened, the campsite remote under a full moon. His hand shooting to her neck, fingers digging in like claws, his punch landing on her head with a crack that dazed her. You don't leave me, he snarled, his knee in her stomach, her breath whooshing out as she gasped, her hands prying at his wrist, nails breaking skin. The beating was savage, his fists raining down on her ribs, her face swelling, blood trickling from her split lip as she curled fettle. Her please stop, please, James, lost in his rage. He dragged her to his tent, zip-tying her wrists, his breath hot on her ear. You're mine now, Kira. Try to run, and it's over. The rape followed, brutal and prolonged, his body pinning hers in the nylon confines. Her cries muffled by his hand. The forest silent witness to her violation. Days blurred into a nightmare of captivity. Perillo marching her off-trail to hidden camps, his knife at her throat during hikes, his love a chain of threats and tenderness, feeding her scraps, bandaging wounds he'd inflicted. His stories turning to rants about his Italian family, shaming him for being gay, the Navy chasing him for lies, Caitlyn Jenner rumors ruining his life. Kira's escape came in fragments of will, her body battered, but her mind plotting, stealing moments to loosen the zip ties when he slept, her voice feigning affection to lower his guard. On a foggy morning in the San Gorgonio wilderness, mile 300, she bolted while he gathered wood, her feet pounding the duff, branches whipping her face as she ran. His shouts, "Kira! Get back!" echoing behind, echoing behind. She stumbled into a trailhead parking lot, flagging a ranger's truck, her words tumbling out in sobs. "He kidnapped me, raped me, please help." The ranger, wide-eyed, radioed authorities. Kira airlifted to a hospital in Palm Springs. Kira airlifted to a hospital in Palm Springs. Her body, a canvas of bruises, black eyes, cracked ribs, lacerations on her thighs from the assault. Doctors documented the horror. Her statement to San Bernardino Sheriff's deputies explicit. "James Perillo," said he's, "a SEAL, kept me for weeks, beat me when I tried to leave, forced himself on me every night. The search launched on me every night. The search launched." Helicopters buzzing the forest, K-9 units sniffing campsites, but Perillo vanished like smoke, his trail cold by May. Kira's photo of him the only lead, posted on missing persons flyers across California. Kira returned to San Francisco a shell, her basement apartment a cage of flashbacks, her pain meds restarted for the trauma, her new life shattered. Jason visited daily, his punk rock hugs a lifeline, but Kira spiraled, the assault's shadow deepening her isolation, her voice quiet over wine. He said I shamed him, posting that photo like I was the monster. She reported it to police. Her statement detailed the beatings with fists and belt, the rapes in tents and under stars, the threats of death if she ran. But without Perillo, the case stalled, her disability check barely covering therapy, her sculpture days gone. Kira fought on, hiking short trails with Jason, her steel shoes a symbol of resilience, but the weight crushed her nights haunted by his shark eyes, her days a blur of pills and regret. By February 7, 2019, alone in her apartment, Kira took her life, a bottle of oxycodone, and whined her escape, her note to Jason simple. Couldn't outrun it. Love you, Unson. The news hit the trail community hard. Through hikers, lighting candles at Campo, her story, a warning whispered around campfires. The PCT a path of beauty and beast. Perillo's shadow stretched back decades. His life a tapestry of lies and violence. Born in 1965 in New Jersey to Italian parents, he drifted early. Aliases like Billy James or Jim Perillo masking a rap sheet of assaults and theft. In the 1980s, a woman in California accused him of kidnapping, holding her captive for months, fathering a child before she escaped. Charges dropped when she vanished, fear silencing her. Another in Oregon in 1992 claimed a year-long ordeal, beaten and raped, burying his son, the case crumbling without evidence. 7 women by 2018, their stories eerily similar. Lured by his charm, isolated in remote spots, assaulted and held, his seal tales a hook for trust. He through-hiked trails for prey, the PCT his hunting ground, his drifter life funded by odd jobs and stolen cash, his eyes always scanning for the vulnerable, the alone. The Unsolved Mysteries episode aired in 1993, Volume 5, Episode 10, titled Mystery on the Trail. Perillo's face blurred but recognizable, his crimes detailed in reenactments, women vanishing on hikes, their stories of captivity aired to jog memories. Robert Stack's voiceover boomed. James Perillo, a drifter with a dangerous past, sought for kidnapping and assault. Who knows where he'll strike next? Tips flooded, but Perillo slipped, his aliases a shield, his trails a maze. Kira's case reignited it in 2018. Her statement to deputies naming him, the photo matching unsolved footage, a task force formed by San Bernardino PD, flyers updated with his face, the PCT community on alert, hikers carrying pepper spray, apps for check-ins, trail angels, vetting strangers. Perillo evaded for years, his drift taking him east, aliases piling. A 2020 sighting in Colorado, dismissed as a lookalike, his violence dormant but simmering. Then, in July 2025, near the Appalachian Trail in New Jersey's Delaware Water Gap, he struck again, a 28-year-old hiker, Sarah Ellis, lured by his offer of water at a remote overlook. Her trust a fatal flaw as he dragged her to his van, zip-tying her wrists, his knife at her throat. Sarah fought, her elbow cracking his nose, blood spraying as she kicked free, bolting through the underbrush, thorns tearing her legs, her screams drawing a passing trucker who floored it to a gas station 2 miles away. Call 911. He tried to grab me, has a knife, she gasped, her hands shaking as the attendant dialed. New Jersey State Police swarming the gap, helicopters buzzing the wood. Sarah's description, tall, balding, goatee, shark eyes, matched Perillo, his van, a rusted Ford Econoline with California plates, spotted abandoned near the trailhead, fingerprints inside sealing his fate. Troopers found him holed up in a motel in Blairstown, his room a shrine of trail maps and women's photos, his knife on the nightstand, zip ties in his pack, cuffed without resistance, his eyes flat as they read charges, attempted kidnapping, assault, his voice calm. You got the wrong guy. But Sarah's eyed clad, her scratches on his arm, fresh. His van's interior matted with fibers from her jacket. Extradited to California on Kira's case, federal charges piled. Interstate stalking, rape, kidnapping across states. His 1990s accusers resurfacing, their stories corroborated by old report. The Unsolved episode, a time capsule of his pattern. Perillo's trial in Riverside County Superior Court, open March 2026. The courtroom packed with hikers and families. Prosecutor Elena Vasquez laying out the timeline. The PCT lures, the captivities. Kira's beating and rape in Big Bear camps, her escape a miracle he couldn't repeat. Witnesses testified. Sarah's terror in the gap, a 1992 Oregon survivor describing year-long hell, bearing his child, her escape a blur of bruises and fusses. Perillo's defense crumbled, his lies exposed, no seal, no fortune, just a drifter's rage, his journal seized from the motel detailing prey on trails. Kira's name circled with mine. Guilty on all counts. April 15th, 2026. Judge Harlan Cruz sentencing him to life without parole. May 10th, his voice flat in allocution. Regret the pain, but it was love. Kira's family, scattered after her suicide, watched via Zoom. Jason Storm's voice breaking in victim impact. Yay! She hiked for life. You stole it for your sickness. The PCT healed slow. Trail angels vetting strangers. Apps like Route adding safety check-ins. Kira's story in Backpacker Magazine 2019. A warning etched in print. Perillo's cell in Corcoran State Prison echoes with silence. His alias is useless. The trail's free of his shadow. But Kira's hike lives on. Her steel shoes, a symbol in hikers' packs. Her fight a light in the wild. As this story fades, another one waits in the shadows. The sticky summer night pressed down on Halifax, Nova Scotia. The air thick with the salt of the harbor and the faint buzz of neon signs flickering along Goddington Street. It was August 15th, 2015, just past 10 p.m., and the south end of the city hummed with the low-key energy of a Saturday. Students spilling out of bars, the distant thump of bass from a house party, the occasional laugh cutting through the humid dark. Taylor Sampson, a 22-year-old physics student at Dalhousie University, with a mop of curly brown hair and a lopsided grin that made him look younger than his years, hefted a massive black duffel bag over his shoulder as he climbed the creaky wooden stairs of the three-story walk-up at 1846 Henry Street. The bag sagged heavy against his back, its zipper straining under the weight of 9 kilograms of marijuana. Vacuum-sealed bricks worth about $40,000 on the street, each step making the nylon creak like old leather. Taylor was no stranger to the hustle. He'd been slinging on the side since his second year of undergrad, using the cash to cover tuition gaps and the odd road trip with buddies, his easy charm turning campus buyers into regular. At 5'10", with a wiry build from pickup soccer games and late-night frisbee tosses, he moved with the loose confidence of a guy who figured he had the world mapped out, his phone buzzing in his jeans pocket with a text from his mom. Home soon, Par. Advice, ad. Dinner's waiting. He knocked on the door of apartment 3B, 3 sharp raps that echoed down the empty hall, his free hand wiping sweat from his brow, the heat wave turning the stairwell into a song. The door swung open with a soft click, and there stood William Sanderson, 24, a first-year medical student at Dalhousie, with sharp cheekbones and dark eyes that missed nothing. William was the picture of ambition, tall and lean from runs along the Bedford Basin, his black hair neatly combed, his gray sweatpants and Dalhousie hoodie giving him a casual vibe that hid the storm brewing inside. What? He stepped aside with a quick nod, his smile tight but welcoming, the faint scent of takeout, pizza from Domino's half-eaten on the coffee table, wafting out into the hall. Tay, right on time, William said, his voice smooth, clapping Taylor on the shoulder as he entered, the door locking behind them with a decisive snick. The apartment was a typical student crash pad in the South End's walk-ups. Faded blue walls peeling at the corners, a sagging couch piled with laundry and textbooks on anatomy, a kitchenette cluttered with empty energy drink cans, and a microwave beeping its end-of-cycle whine. The living room doubled as William's study, a desk lamp casting a yellow glow over stacks of flashcards for his gross anatomy class. the air stale with the mix of weed from the bag and the faint chemical tang of bleach from a recent clean. Taylor dropped the duffel on the linoleum floor with a heavy thud that made the room vibrate, the zipper rasping as he knelt to open it, revealing the tightly packed green bricks wrapped in plastic. The earthy scent, blooming like a forbidden garden. 9 kilos, as promised, Taylor said, his voice easy, wiping his hands on his jeans as he stood, his eyes flicking to the coffee table where an envelope sat fat with cash. 40 grand in crisp hundreds. 40 grand in crisp hundreds. The stack tempting under the lamp's light. William nodded, his fingers drumming the table edge, his mind a whirlwind of calculation. Med school was a meat grinder, tuition eating his savings, loans piling up like unpaid bills, his side gig with Taylor a lifeline that had started small but ballooned into this monster deep. He'd confided in his girlfriend, Julia Gashes, a 23-year-old nursing student with long blonde hair and a trusting heart, during a late-night whisper in their shared bed. This payout sets us up, Jules. Covers the loan. Maybe even a down payment on a place. Julia had squeezed his hand, her worry masked by love, unaware the stress had twisted him, his desperation for control turning the deal into a powder keg. William slid the envelope across the table, his voice casual. Count it if you want. Taylor scooped it up, his fingers rifling through the bills with practiced speed, his grin fading as the count slowed, his brow furrowed. This is short, Will, by 10 grand. What's the play? The room shrank in that moment, the air thickening like the humid night outside, William's throat tightening as Taylor's eyes hardened, his lean frame tensing like a spring. Market's tight, Tay, William said, his voice steady, but his pulse hammering, leaning back in his chair to put space between them. I'll wire the rest Monday. Scout's honor. Taylor's laugh was short, bitter, his hands slamming the envelope down, bills fanning out like fallen leaves. Nah, man, we had a deal. You think I'm some rookie? Pay up or the bag stays. He stepped closer, his finger jabbing William's chest, the contact light that loaded, the kitchenette feeling smaller, the hallway door a distant promise of escape. William's mind raced. The missing 10 grand, a deliberate skim, his affiliate's robbery earlier that week leaving him short, the bag's contents a salvation if he could just keep it. Chill, it's temporary, he said, his hand inching toward the drawer where his .38 Smith & Wesson revolver waited, loaded with hollow points, a protection piece he'd bought after a campus mugging scare. Taylor leaned in, his voice low and edged. Temporary. Maybe one might have changed my just. You ripped me off. I walk with everything. Deal's dead. The argument exploded from there, voices rising in the small space, Taylor's finger now a fist against William's shoulder, shoving him back in the chair. The wood creaking under the force. You owe me, Will, now, Taylor barked, his face flushed, his hand grabbing William's collar, yanking him forward, the envelope spilling across the floor in a cascade of green. William's fear ignited, his back to the counter, no room to maneuver, his fingers closing on the drawer handle, yanking it open with a scrape that cut the air. The gun came out in a blur, the metal cold and heavy in his grip, the barrel swinging up as he stood, the chair toppling behind him. Back off, William shouted, his voice cracking, the .38's weight steadying his shaking hand. Taylor's eyes widening in shock, his grip loosening as he raised his palms, stepping back a fraction. Whoa, easy, man. Put it down. We're good. But William's finger curled on the trigger, the adrenaline surging, the room narrowing to the gun's sight. Taylor's face a mask of betrayal, his hands open, pleading. The shot rang out like a thunderclap in the kitchenette, the muzzle flash blooming orange in the dim light, the bullet slamming into Taylor's chest with a wet smack. Blood erupting in a dark spray that splattered the cabinets and William's hoodie. Taylor staggered, his hand flying to the wound, fingers pressing into the hole as crimson seeped between them, his knees buckling as he slumped against the wall, the impact jarring a groan from his throat. "Why?" Taylor gasped, his voice ragged, blood bubbling on his lips as he slid down, his back leaving a red smear on the paint, his eyes locking on Williams in a mix of pain and disbelief. William froze, the gun smoking in his hand, the acrid stench of cordite filling the air, his heart pounding like a war drum in his ears, the duffel bag's green bricks scattered like a taunt on the floor. Taylor's breaths came in wet rasps, his free hand reaching out weakly, palm up. Hospital. "Help me, man." William's mind whirled. Cops, prison, med school gone. The bag's value a lifeline if he ended it now. His feet rooted as Taylor coughed, a spray of red flecking the linoleum. Panic overrode everything. William stepping forward, the gun rising again, his voice a whisper lost in the roar of his pulse. "Sorry, Tay, this wasn't." The second shot was closer, the barrel inches from Taylor's forehead, the The bullet entering with a sickening crack, his head snapping back against the wall, blood and brain matter exploding in a gray-pink arc that painted the fridge door. Taylor's body jerked once, his eyes glazing over in an instant, his hand falling limp to his side, the pool of blood spreading beneath him, soaking into the cracks of the floor. William stood there, gun trembling, the silence deafening, save for the drip of blood from the cabinets, his breaths coming in short gasps, the reality crashing down like the spilled envelope's bills. Taylor's eyes stared sightless, his mouth slack, the kitchen a slaughterhouse of his making, the duffel bag's contents a mocking fortune now stained red. William's hands shook as he set the gun on the counter, the metal clattering, his mind a frenzy of what-ifs. Called Julia, lie to cops, run, but survival kicked in, his feet moving on autopilot. He grabbed a roll of trash bags from under the sink, the plastic rustling as he lined the floor around Taylor's body, his gloves from a med kit snapping on, the latex tight against his skin. The body was heavy, Taylor's 5'10" frame, dead weight as William dragged him by the arms, the head lolling, blood trailing in a wide smear from the kitchen to the living room, the carpet soaking it up like a sponge. He positioned the corpse near the couch, the duffel bag waiting like a shroud, unzipping it with fumbling fingers, the weed bricks tumbling out in a green avalanche. William stripped Taylor's clothes, jeans, t-shirt, boxers, tossing them into a separate bag, the body naked and pale on the plastic, the gunshot wounds gaping, the chest hole oozing, the forehead a crater of bone and tissue. He folded Taylor's limbs, knees to chest, the rigor not set yet, the body still warm and pliable, a grunt escaping as he stuffed the legs in first, then the torso, the arms flopping awkwardly, the head last, curling it down. The duffel zipper straining as he forced it closed, the nylon bulging grotesquely, a foot outline pressing against the side, the zipper's teeth catching on hair. The bag sat there, heavy and ominous, William's breaths ragged as he wiped sweat from his brow. the room reeking of blood and fear. Julia was due any minute, her shift at the bar ending at midnight, her key in the lock a ticking bomb. He dragged the duffel to the door, the weight pulling at his back, the hallway empty as he hauled it down the stairs. Each step a thud that echoed in his ears, the night air a slap of cool relief when he reached the parking lot. His silver Hyundai Sonata waited under a street lamp, the trunk popping with a beat, the duffel sliding in with a finality that turned his stomach, the lid slamming shut like a coffin nail. William drove fast, the city lights blurring, his mind on the family farm in Lower Truro, a 2-hour haul through the dark, the highway empty, save for the occasional trucker's glare. Julia called at 12:15, her voice bubbly. "On my way, babe. Miss you," he answered calm, waiting up, his hands wide on the wheel, the trunk's weight shifting with every curve. Julia arrived at 12:45, her blonde hair damp from the humid night, her scrubs rumpled from slinging drinks at the bar, her key turning in the lock with a click that made William's heart stop. She stepped in, kicking off her shoes, her nose wrinkling at the faint bleach tang in the air, the living room spotless but wrong, the couch cushions straightened too neat, the coffee table wiped to a shine. "Will, you okay?" she called, her voice light, dropping her bag by the door, her eyes catching the empty envelope on the floor, bills scattered like confetti. William emerged from the kitchen, his face pale, his hoodie swapped for a clean t-shirt, his smile forced as he pulled her into a hug, his arms tight around her waist. "Rough night, Jules." The deal went south. She pulled back, her green eyes searching his, her hand on his cheek, feeling the stubble rougher than usual. "What happened?" "You look like hell." He led her to the couch, his voice low, the story spilling out in a rush. The knock at 10:28, Taylor with the bag, the count short by 10 grand, the argument exploding, Taylor lunging for the drawer, the gun coming out, the shot in self-defense, the second to stop the threat. Julia's face drained of color, her hand flying to her mouth, her knees buckling as she sank onto the cushions, her voice a whisper. "You killed him?" "Oh, God, Will, what did you do?" William's words tumbled faster, the panic raw. "He came at me, Jules. Robbed my guy last week. I shorted him to make it even. He went for the gun. I had no choice." Her love for him clashing with horror, her eyes darting to the kitchen, where a dark stain lingered under the bleach, the scent sharp in her nose. "Where's the body?" she asked, her voice small, William's hand on her knee, his eyes pleading. "In the trunk. We have to move it. The farm. Bury it quick." She nodded numbly, her nursing training kicking in with detached calm. Following him to the door, the night air a slap as they hauled the duffel from the trunk, the weight pulling at their arms, the zipper bulging with the shape inside. The drive to Truro was a nightmare, the highway a black ribbon under the moon. William's hands white on the wheel, Julia staring out the window, her mind flashing to Taylor's grin from parties, his laugh over beers, now silenced in Isla. They arrived at the farm around 2 a.m., the fields dark and silent. William's parents asleep in the main house, his brother Adam in his trailer across the way. The barn loomed, its doors creaking open, William grabbing a shovel from the wall, the blade dull but sharp enough for soft earth. Julia held the flashlight, her beam shaking on the dirt, as William dug behind the hole shallow at first, 2 feet deep, the soil loamy and giving way under the blade, sweat beading on his forehead as he worked. his breaths coming in grunts. Deeper, Julia whispered, her voice hollow, the duffel waiting like a beast, the zipper's teeth glinting in the light. William nodded, the shovel biting deeper. 3 feet now, the hole wide enough for the bag, his arms aching as he paused, wiping mud from his face, the night's humidity turning to dew on his skin. They lowered the duffel in together, the nylon scraping the sides, the weight settling with a thud. Taylor's form outlined in the dark, knees to chest, head tucked, the bulge of his shoulder, a silent accusation. William sprinkled lime from a bag in the shed, the powder hissing on the plastic, a trick from online searches to speed decay. Julia's stomach churning as she helped shovel soil back, the mound smooth under the rake. Grass clippings scattered to hide it. Dawn crept over the fields as they drove back, the radio off. Silence a companion heavier than the trunk's ghost. Halifax stirred to life on Sunday, August 16th. The South End's coffee shops filling with brunch crowds. Taylor's absence, a ripple no one noticed yet. His mother, Mona Sampson, a 50-year-old nurse with a no-nonsense bob and eyes that missed nothing, called his phone at noon. The ring going to voicemail, her worry mild at first. Taylor, always the late sleeper after parties. By evening, texts to friends yielded shrugs. His truck parked at his mom's place since the day before, his wallet and keys missing. Mona filed a missing persons report at 8 p.m., her voice steady at the Halifax Regional Police Station on Gottingen Street, describing Taylor, 5'10", 160 pounds, curly brown hair. Last seen Saturday night for a business meeting. Const. Craig DeWolf took the report, his notebook filling with details, the department's integrated criminal investigation division assigning death. Scott Martin, a veteran with a mustache and a nose for life. Martin's team started simple, canvassing Taylor's circle, his Dalhousie buddies recalling a text about a big deal, his dealer contacts clamming up. The apartment building at Henry Street came up, William's name surfacing from a mutual friend. Tay was meeting Sanderson for weed. Martin knocked on 3B Monday morning, August 17th, the door opening to William's pale face, his eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night. Julia hovering behind in a robe, her smile forced. Taylor? Yeah, he came by Saturday, big deal, 9 kilos, William said, his voice casual, inviting them in, the apartment spotless, the kitchen gleaming under fresh bleach. Julia nodded, her hands clasped. He left around 11, said he had plans. Martin's nose twitched at the chemical scent, his eyes scanning the floor for stains, the living room tidy, but the air wrong. Any trouble? He asked. William shaking his head. Nah, smooth. Then 2 guys in black morph suits burst in, shot him, stuffed him in his duffel, took the bag and cash, jumped out the window. Julia backed it, her voice quivering just right. The story, a movie script too perfect for Martin's liking. He thanked them, stepping out, but the tale stuck. The morph suit's a red flag in Halifax's gritty scene. The probe deepened, Martin's team pulling hallway CCTV from the building, grainy footage at 10:28 p.m. showing Taylor entering alone, duffel in hand. No exit after. The timestamp, a silent scream. Neighbors whispered to a private investigator hired by Mona's family, Frank McDonald, a grizzled ex-cop with a limp from a bad bust. Laura May and 3A heard a thud around 10:45, a muffled shout, then frantic mopping. Jordan and 3 smelled bleach Sunday morning, saw William hauling trash bags at dawn. Frank passed the tips to Martin. The search warrant for the apartment August 18th, yielding gold, a bullet embedded in the kitchen window frame, Taylor's blood DNA on it from spray. Luminol glowing blue on the floor, where bleach failed to erase the spatter pattern, a high-velocity arc from a close-range shot. The gun was gone, but the revolver's caliber matched the bullet. 38 special, the window glass chipped from the exit path. Julia cracked first in a separate interview. Her tears real this time, spilling the truth. The short cash, the lunge, the shots, the duffel drag, the farm burial, the bay dump. William's story crumbled under the weight. His arrest, August 18 cuffs, snapping in the living room. His face blank as Mona arrived, her voice a whisper, "Where's my boy?" The farm raid, August 21, was a grim excavation. The shallow grave behind the barn, yielding the duffel, lime-crusted and bloated, the zipper bursting under the shovel. Taylor's remains a horror, skeletal from exposure and tide, but identifiable by dental records and a tattoo on his arm. The gunshot to the head, clear in the skull's crater, cinder blocks chained to his ankles from the bay's failed sink. The Fundy tides had washed him ashore in pieces, but the farm soil held the truth, the bag's nylon fibers in the trunk, Julia's prints on the lime sack. William's family reeled, his parents in shock, his brother Adam questioned but cleared, the farm a crime scene taped off, cows lowing in confusion. The first trial, June 2017, was a media circus, Nova Scotia Supreme Court, packed with reporters from the Chronicle Herald. Prosecutor Timothy Gabriel painting William as a cold opportunist, the skim premeditated, the shots execution style. Julia testified, her voice breaking. He shot him twice, point blank, then made me help with the bag. Witnesses corroborated the thud, the bleach, the dawn trash run. William's defense, James Lutz, argued self-defense, Taylor the aggressor, but the jury saw calculation, guilty first-degree murder, June 9, 2017, life with no parole for 25 years. Appeals dragged, the Nova Scotia Court of Appeal overturning June 2020 on ministerial grounds. Jury misconduct, a holdout's undisclosed bias from a media leak, the retrial ordered January 2023. The second trial opened January 9, 2023. Justice Timothy Gabriel presiding. The courtroom tense as Carla Ball, the Crown, recapped the nightmare. Taylor's entry at 10:28 p.m. The gunshots echo, the body stuffed, the farm's grave, the body stuffed, the bay's dump. And we are, they say, as, IS. Evidence piled high. CCTV silence on morph suits. Luminol's glow. The bullet's DNA. Julia's tearful account of the shots. The drag, the splat. Witnesses returned. Laura May's thud. Jordan's bleach. The Pie's interviews, painting William's panic. William took the stand February 6th, his first admission in 8 years, voice measured. Taylor robbed my affiliate. I shorted the cash to even it. He lunged for the gun in the drawer. I grabbed it first. Shot in self-defense. The second to stop him coming at me. The jury waited. Ball countering premeditation. The gun loaded, the bag ready, the farm pre-scouted for burial. After 6 weeks, February 18 verdict. Guilty second-degree murder. Life with parole after 15 years. Sentencing April 20th. Gabriel adding 5 years. consecutive for indignity to the body. Parole eligibility 2030. Williams' face stoic as Mona's voice rang. Justice partial, but he's locked where he belongs. Halifax breathed easier. Halifax breathed easier. Henry Street's walk up, raised for condos. Taylor's memory and Dalhousie scholarships for physics majors. Williams' handwritten appeal from Dorchester Penitentiary, a futile grasp in 2025. The duffel bag, evidence relic in storage. The Bay of Fundy's tides, washing secrets. But Mona's tree by the harbor blooms. Taylor's laugh, a ghost in the salt wind. As this story fades, another one waits in the shadows.